I'd like to call the meeting to order for Monday, October 3rd, 2022. Please rise for the pledge. Coach Cole will open us in prayer.
As we go into prayer, let us be mindful of our neighbors and friends who have lost loved ones due to the hurricane, who have been impacted. Father, let us pray. Gracious Father, we thank you once more for our opportunity to sit here amongst friends and people of concern for our community. Gracious God, we thank you for the gift of people with the courage and creativity to do what is right, even with limited resources. When things in life cause us a greater responsibility, grant us the wisdom to know what is needed and the strength to do it. Father, we ask you to continue to watch over our friends and families who have volunteered to protect and serve our community. Father, look on them, look upon their families, look upon their friends, bless them with the blessings they stand in need of. Father, but most of all, give us the courage to do what is right in your sight. We pray in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, roll call. Please show all present tonight. We have a quorum and can conduct business. Next item on the agenda would be approval of minutes from September 6, 2022. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes. A motion from Coach Cole, second. Edward Burks, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, on unfinished business, I'd like to ask Mike Goff, wastewater superintendent, to come up front. And you can get on to Scott about this, okay? I don't know. So we asked Mike to come here tonight. Time to time, we recognize city employees that do an outstanding job for the city. We've done that several meetings in the past, and Mike has no idea we're doing this tonight. He's a very humble, dedicated, self-conscious employee that does his job. Somebody up here asked me who you were, which is a good thing. Mike's been here 34 years, the city of Dyersburg. But let me tell you why Mike is here. We want to recognize Mike for his outstanding job he does for the city of Dyersburg as a wastewater superintendent. Let me read just a couple of things to you if I could, okay? Just recently, last year, at the Kentucky-Tennessee Water Professionals Conference held in Chattanooga, Mike Goff, City of Dyersburg, the wastewater superintendent, was announced as the recipient of the 2021 Kentucky-Tennessee William D. Hatfield Award. This award is presented to the operators of wastewater treatment plants for outstanding performance and professionalism. This award was established in honor of Dr. William D. Hatfield, superintendent of the Decatur, Illinois Sanitary District, who was president of the Central State Sewage Works Association in 1944 and 1945, and served as president of the Water Environment Federation in 1958 and 1959. Nominees for this award demonstrate sustained and ongoing contributions for at least 5 years to further improve the field of treatment plant operations. Mike began his tenure at the city of Dyersburg in March of 1988 in a wastewater operation position. With his continuous hard work, Mike worked his way up the ladder, obtaining numerous certifications and taking part in various training opportunities. He was promoted to assistant wastewater superintendent in March 2007 and to wastewater superintendent on May 30th, 2009, where Mike has remained through the present time. And just recently, Mike received the Wastewater Operator of the Year 2022 at the Tennessee Association of Utility Districts. So Mike, we wanted to recognize you for your outstanding work for the city the past 34 years. Again, Mike's very humble, unassuming, does his job, and we appreciate you very much.
I appreciate it.
Anybody have any comments for Mike or questions? Or
I'd like to just say Mike is a fine person. I was around when you came, and you did work yourself up the ladder with the different courses to make it to the top. Man, I'm really proud that you all are doing this for him.
Sure, sure. And Mike doesn't like this, okay? I'll go ahead and say it. You can probably tell, right? He's going to get on to Scott and I after this meeting or tomorrow. But, man, we appreciate you. We really do. Okay, thank you for doing a great job, and you see all the country things are happening at wastewater treatment plants and water plants and stuff like that. So we're blessed in our community to have folks that do a job like Mike does, and we just thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Mike. I appreciate you. Next item on the agenda is under new business, attorney invoice. The attorney invoice was attached. The amount of the invoice, $8,095.25. I'd entertain a motion to approve that.
So move.
Motion from Mary Claire Hopper. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Baltimore. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 1003-2022, acceptance of the ARPA funds from Dyer County and the state of Tennessee. That resolution is in your packet. I'm not going to read all of it. If anybody has any questions about this, we'll be more than happy to answer those questions.
Man, how much money is it gonna be? Do you have an idea?
This particular resolution, it's $1,565,217.50. That's in the fourth paragraph. So this is money that TDEC awarded to counties in the state of Tennessee, and this is the portion. So they're to be split between water districts within the county. So there's several water districts within Dyer County, but this is our portion that the county awarded to the city of Dyersburg, probably back, I guess, during their budget time, I think.
So, I'll elaborate on it. The city got ARPA money and the county got ARPA money. They gave us 1.5, and they're gonna pay the match on their part, brings it to about 1.8, and we've got 2.6 million. For a project total of $4,835,113. And we've submitted this grant to TDEC, for approval, and these projects include a new SCADA system for our water plant and our whole water system, a complete water model of our system, replace another well at the downtown treatment plant. We've just put one in at the Roger Hawkins, gonna put another one in down here, a new generator at the wastewater treatment plant. Then we're gonna do some wastewater treatment plant, our water treatment plant renovations at this old plant down here. It's pretty old and gotten outdated. It needs a facelift pretty bad. And got some green infrastructure project and repairs to other treatment plant stuff.
So we shouldn't get in no trouble with, like they did down in Jackson, Mississippi. We ought to have enough money to take care of it, right?
We hope not. Right now we're in good shape, but some of our wells are pretty old. It's time, they're spanning out in their life cycle.
Any more questions? So there's two pots of money. One that we got as a city that's included in this, and then one that the county is sharing with other water districts in Dyer County. So, any other questions about this?
We have the matching funds, no problem with that.
Yes, we're going to use our, the county's paying the part of the match on the money our matching funds, we've got budgeted in that NEU money we got from that 4.8 million to cover the match costs.
Any other questions? I'd entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
So move.
Motion from Dennis and second from Ricky. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Have another resolution on the agenda tonight. It's Resolution 1003-2022A. Resolution authorizing and providing for the financing of the construction of a water facilities project, including authorizing the execution of applications, contractual agreements, and other necessary documents, and making certain representations, certifications, and pledges of certain revenue in connection with such financing. This also was included in your packet for the city of Dyersburg. This goes back to, really 2 or 3 years ago. It's taken a while to get to this point, but I'm not going to read this 3-page resolution, but if there's any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer those.
Mayor, I was talking to Scott earlier today. Our rates now are enough to cover this obligation.
Yes, sir.
without any increases or anything.
The SRF loan in the consent agreement was done in 2018. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 is the 5-year period to qualify for this loan. It was a combined $10 million loan. It's all for sewer infrastructure repair. $2.5 million was for assessment, $7.5 million for construction. We've completed the assessment. This is to get the construction, but 23 will be the last year of the 3%. We've done 3% per year for 5 years to cover the cost of the loan. So we're well into it. So after next year, you know, the increase will be gone. So.
Any other questions? I'd entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Baltimore. Is there a second?
Second.
Mary Claire, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, bids. Greg Williams. Before we go over the bids, there was a question asked at the last board meeting about how the process works for getting information out to get people to bid on stuff. I think Greg Williams emailed each of you, but I just want to answer that. When Greg puts the bids out for vehicles or anything like that, he advertises the bid in the State Gazette as required by law. That's picked up by the plan rooms that dealers and contractors subscribe to, and he also mails the bids out directly to the 3 local dealers. So Greg goes above and beyond to make sure not only dealers but other folks are aware of the bid requests and things like that. So I wanted to clarify that for those that were wondering. Bids tonight, we have 3. The first one's under recreation. It came in under budget. That's to resurface Okina Park basketball courts. Budgeted $30,000. Notification State Gazette, 2 plan rooms. Received 2 bids. Lowest bid was $22,500. People's Sports Courts is a low bidder, and the bid was awarded to them. We do not need to take action on that because it was under the budgeted amount. Items 2 and 3 will need a motion to do this. We can do it together or separately. For the police department, 2 unmarked SUV vehicles to replace older vehicles. Budgeted amount was $77,000. The lowest bid came in at $83,000. The additional $6,000 for this will come from JAG grants that have already been received. So I need a motion to approve this. Bid awarded to Tim Castleall Ford of Dyersburg for $83,000.
Motion.
I have a motion from Ricky Hammond. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Baltimore. Any discussion or questions?
What is the JAG grant?
Help me, Chief. JAG stands for Judge. It's a Justice. Yeah, Justice Assistant. Yeah, Justice Assistant Grant.
Understood.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item for bids, number 3 for Public Works, 7.5 ton rooftop HVAC unit, replace unit that failed at the Street Department and Police Property and Evidence Room. Was not a budgeted item. It was emergency repair to protect the police evidence room. Received 2 bids, one from Wendell and for $16,431, one from Billy Rogers for $11,811. Bid awarded to Billy Rogers Plumbing in the amount of $11,811. I'd entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Vanetta and Mr. Baltimore, Coach Cole. Okay. Any questions about this? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Dyersburg Police Department Agency Report. Chief Steve Isbell. Chief.
Thank you, and to be respectful of your time, we'll go through this pretty quickly, but all the information I'm going to go over, it will be in a booklet that you'll have that you can look over, and I encourage you to do this, and it will also be published on our Facebook page and then on the website, hopefully later this week. So we'll start with an overview of personnel. We, as you know, are authorized to have 60 commissioned officers and 8 support staff. That was last year. This year, the only reduction is in our civilian staff. Instead of having 8 full-time, we have 7 full-time and 1 part-time civilian staff. We've been hit, like most others, in law enforcement and most other businesses and industry with vacancies. We currently have 6 vacancies. We have 1 on maternity leave, 1 on paternity leave, 1 on administrative leave, and 1 on light duty, which is better than what we had previously. We had 4 on light duty in addition to these others. That adds up. That's a big hit to our overall personnel. We have 4 in the pipeline that are going through the backgrounds and the testing. Looks very hopeful that we can start those 4, and then we have a 5th that is a certified officer that potentially is going to come back to work for us, which would be an easy hire. So we hope that works out. Department overview, as far as personnel, 0 to 1 years of service, we have 9 commissioned officers. 1 to 5 years, we have 12. We're a young department. Once you get into 5 to 10 years, we have 7, 10 to 15, 6, and so it ranges between 5 and 7 to finish out the 30-plus years of experience. Average age of our employees, 21 to 25, we have 4. Then the next group is 30 to 35, we have 14, and then everywhere in between. Traffic stats, again, and this is pretty consistent each year. The top 5 top location for crashes in the city is 51 Bypass and Lake Road. That's usually number 1 year after year. And then you go into Lake Road, Mall Boulevard, the Bypass and Parr, St. John and Bypass, and then Mall Boulevard and Mall Loop rounds out the top 5. The department made 54 DUI arrests in 2021 compared to 48 in 2020. There are 1,128 crashes investigated in 2021 compared to 438 in 2020. Our drivers did not get that much worse. We changed the way that we report the crash. Initially, we were reporting crashes in our annual report that required the state accident report. Well, we also respond to a lot of private property crashes. We respond to crashes that may not require the state report. So we wanted to capture that data to show, because this is resources that we're using. It takes a lot of resources. 1,128 crashes. There were no fatalities in 21 compared to 2 in 2020. We average, on the low side, 73 crashes investigated a month. It was in January to 126 in March. And so it's average in the 80s and 90s monthly crash reports. Risk management analysis report. I'm just going to hit some highlights in this. And again, I encourage you to read over this. The entire report is in this booklet. This is our highest risk and liability for us, for the city, and for you as sitting board members. During the calendar year of 21, officers of the Dyersburg Police Department responded to a total of 23,989 calls for service. Of these calls, there was a total of 1,978 arrests made. There was a total of 93 use of force incident reported in 21. And Dyersburg Police had to use some type of force 4.7% of the time. Encounter types, out of the total uses of force reported in 21, 65 were during misdemeanor arrest and 28 were for felony arrest. Officers encountered a total of 93 response to resistant incidents in 21. This shows a 22.6% increase from 2020. Even with the challenges of COVID and personnel issues, the DPD continues to focus on educating officers in objectively reasonable applications of force upon resistant subjects. During department training, officers are placed in scenarios where they are forced to make decisions in tense, uncertain, and rapidly evolving situations which simulate real-world environment. There were 7 incidents that caused injury to a suspect that required some degree of medical attention. The use of our tasers decreased by 27% compared to 21, or in 21, excuse me. Overall, officers made excellent force decisions when the taser was applied, but are not over-reliant on the taser. They're using their other tools, communications, de-escalation, those types of things. So those are numbers that we like to see. In 2021, we had an increase of 44% of chemical agent. That's another force option that we use, and it's very, very effective. While performing their duties, there were a total of 13 members of the department that were assaulted. Out of the 13, 4 resulted in officers having received medical treatment. 3 of these assaults occurred while officers were investigating a felony. 2 of the incidents occurred had juvenile offenders, while the other 11 were adults. The review did not reveal any unusual mistakes upon the officer's behalf or trends. Even so, training on pre-assault threat indicators continues to be implemented within all facets of training, as well as de-escalation strategies, defensive tactics, and the use of less lethal tools such as the spray, baton, and taser. Of the resistant subjects, 40% of the encounters were white males. This is an increase of 58.6% from the previous year. Black males accounting for 33%, and that's an increase of 31% from previous years. Moving to the crime data, we've taken month for month from January to August, because September numbers are still being plugged in to the state and to the FBI, and it's just for comparison to see where we stand now to this time last year. So this is just for those months of January through August. We have 15 fewer aggravated assaults, 23 fewer aggravated domestic assaults, 29 fewer assaults, and 26 fewer domestic assaults. Weapon violations are going about the same. And when I say weapon violations, this is not when someone has fired a gun. This is when maybe an officer makes a traffic stop, individual has a gun that it's unlawful for them to have. And that's where some of these come from. The trend there, of course, is on the rise. Going back to 2019, we had 35. In 2020, we had 39. And in 2021, 66. So almost double those numbers for weapon violations. On homicides, so far we've had 4 homicides this year, and there was a 5th homicide that we investigated, and then that was ruled as justifiable homicide, so that does not go into these numbers per the state and federal guidelines if it's justifiable. Compared to last year, we had 4. It's on everybody's mind, active shooter situations all across the country that everyone's experiencing. According to FBI, active shooter incidents increased 50% in 2021 compared to 2020, and 97% from 2017. Gun deaths reached the highest number ever recorded in the United States in 2020, the first year of the pandemic. As gun-related homicides surged by 35%, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported. This is a historic increase, with the rate having reached the highest level in over 25 years. More than 45,000 Americans died in gun-related incidents as the pandemic spread in the United States, the highest number on record, federal data shows. The gun homicide rate was the highest reported since 1994. That represents the largest one-year increase in gun homicides in modern history, according to CDC data. Cities from coast to coast have seen bloody episodes of gun violence since the pandemic began, but the new report is official, confirmation of something that many Americans had already sensed. Amid the stress and upheaval, citizens turned to guns in numbers rarely seen. The new numbers reveal not only startling increases in the rates of gun homicide, but also document widened disparities that existed even before the pandemic began, according to CDC. Homicides involving firearms are generally highest and showed the largest increases in poor communities and exacted a disproportionate toll on younger black men in particular. So what are we doing? What's the Dyersburg Police Department and the City of Dyersburg doing to combat these things? One, we've added additional instructors to our staff. We now have 3 certified instructors that teach the CRAZE, which is the Civilian Response to Active Shooters. This will be available to industry, churches, private businesses. This is a service that we will provide to our community. We feel strongly about that. It's very important. Guns are in society. They're not going to go anywhere anytime soon. There's violence. There's these mass shootings all over the country. So we want to try to prepare our community the best that we can. And that's why we felt it's so important to have these 3 officers sent to be certified to do this. We also have our partnership with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Tennessee with federal prosecution of weapon, gang, and drug crimes. In conjunction with our local District Attorney General's Office, the gang injunctions issued through Dyer County Chancery Court in 2021 and 2022. License plate readers approved by this board, Mayor. This is going to be a huge tool for us to use that connects us to agencies not only across Tennessee but across this country. We've been assisting Dyersburg Housing Authority with, we've provided them with a lot of data where they are trying to obtain a federal grant to have cameras in every public housing unit area in the city of Dyersburg. It's a competitive grant. They are the ones that have applied for it. They have a grant writer. But we're very hopeful that they will be awarded that grant. Increased patrols and assignments to complement our street crimes unit, in addition to our continued partnership with the FBI Safe Streets Task Force, the U.S. Marshal's Office, and entering into a partnership with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation Narcotics Division that I'll be able to speak more to hopefully in the very, very near future on that. That's going to be a tremendous partnership for us. I'm very excited about that. Community outreach efforts. Even though we had COVID, we have vacancies, we have these other things going on. Our officers, they're tired. They work 12-hour shifts anyway, and they're having to come in on their days off to fill slots. We simply can't just say we're not going to show up. We have to have fully staffed to answer calls for service. But even through all of this, we've maintained our presence in the community with our community changer events, and we're very, very proud of that, and we'll continue that. I mentioned crime reporting and TIBERS, and so what is TIBERS? And this is also going to be in your booklet so that you can read. This is not my synopsis of TIBERS. I did not prepare this. This is from the TBI, and you'll see in your booklet. So TIBERS is a Tennessee incident-based reporting system. This program and is an incident-based reporting system designed to collect information on every single crime occurrence and each offense and arrest within the occurrence. The most significant difference between TIBERS and traditional uniform crime reporting, also referred to as UCR, is the degree of detail. Because of the differences between UCR summary data and TIBERS data, any cross comparisons would provide inaccurate results and trend analysis. That's important, and we'll go back to this in just a moment. The pitfalls of ranking. When you take these numbers and per capita, and you see these publications come out that were the number 1 most dangerous, number 5 most dangerous, this and that. You're taking this data, and people are not using this data in the proper way according to the FBI and the TBI. Not according to Steve, but according to this. And the pitfalls in ranking is, in the past, crime data has been used to compile rankings of individual jurisdictions and institutions of higher learning. These crude and or incomplete analysis have often created misleading perceptions which adversely affect geographic entities and their residents. The FBI has a long-standing policy against ranking cities, counties, states, universities, and colleges on the basis of crime data alone, and the TBI concurs. Locals should not be ranked because there are many factors that cause the nature and type of crime to vary from place to place. TIBERS statistics include only jurisdictional figures along with reported crime, clearance, or arrest data. Rankings ignore the uniqueness of each locale. All jurisdictions are affected in some degree by population, number of residents versus the policing population. For example, residents plus daily commuters, transients, tourists, shoppers, etc. Economic conditions, modes of transportation and highway systems, cultural conditions, family conditions with respect to divorce and family cohesiveness, climate, effective strength of law enforcement, administrative and investigative emphasis of law enforcement and/or policies of other components of the criminal justice system. The attitudes of a jurisdiction's citizenry towards crime and crime reporting practices of its residents are known to have an effect on the number of crimes coming to the attention of law enforcement. Our community reports crime. They call us when things happen. We report those things accurately. We do not respond and just go off the dispatch CAD, that's a record of the call. If it fits the criteria, we do a report, and that is submitted. And so our community reports these things. Because of concerns regarding the proper use of Tiber's data, the TBI has the following policy. The TBI will not analyze, interpret, or publish crime statistics based solely on a single dimension of interagency ranking. The TBI will not furnish agency-based crime statistics to data users in a ranked format, and when providing using agency-oriented statistics, the TBI cautions and in fact strongly discourages data users against using rankings to evaluate locals or the effectiveness of their law enforcement departments. The crime rate in Tennessee reflects all 24 Group A offense categories. Crime rates in the FBI crime in the United States are only based upon 8 index offenses. The crime rates in the Tiber's publications will be a more accurate reflection of the crime occurrences in the state. So I'm going to hit that again. So some of these groups that take these numbers and do these rankings, if they are taking those simply from the FBI's crime in the United States, that's not an accurate reflection because the TBI is reporting many more factors. And one thing I'd like to explain in regards to the Tiber's reporting, and it's based on not per incident but per victim. It's victim based. For instance, you have 4 people in a car, someone tries to run them off the road, there's been some type of disturbance or something, or even shots were fired at this car. That's not one reported incident, that's 4. 4 people in the vehicle, that's 4 aggravated assaults or 4 attempted murders. That's counted in those numbers. So just kind of, I wanted to explain that. The last that I have is just a thank you to this board, your work, your support to this police department, the men and women who are out here fighting this day in and day out. I've already told you, we've been stretched thin. They're still rising to the occasion. So many communities, aside from the defund the police madness and noise that's out there from so many states and communities, there are a lot of cities, municipal governments that have cut their departments in various ways. You have provided us with a budget that we work with. We have great equipment. The salary increases, huge for us and for all city employees. So thank you for your commitment and your support to all of public safety in the city of Dyersburg. It is greatly appreciated. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions of the Chief while he's here?
Chief, and I hope I didn't misunderstand something here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you said that the communications now with the community, with the public, is better, because I know it wasn't that long ago we were asking for more support from the community. Is that something that's gotten better?
No, I was referencing when if someone's broken into their shed, they call us. If someone has tampered with their vehicle overnight, they call us. Our community reports those things. Where we're having a breakdown, and if you've read today's online paper or our Facebook page, a prime example, the shooting that we had last week where the 2 juveniles were shot, 5 people wanted. Those 5 people's charges have been dismissed because the victims are no longer cooperating. Now, when we have witnesses that don't cooperate, and unfortunately that happens a lot, we don't give up. We keep plugging along. we're sending things off for forensics, and it takes a while to get back, so we're still working those cases. Just because the witness is not cooperating, we don't just close it out and say we're moving on to something else. But when victims do not cooperate, you do not have a case that you can prosecute. And the District Attorney General had no choice but to dismiss those charges based on that. So just to be clear, our community calls us and they report things, but we are having a breakdown with the continued help from witnesses and even victims in some cases, and as it relates to some of the violent crime.
I was watching the local news before I came to the meeting today, and there was a police chief in I think Arkansas they were interviewing, and he made a point that stood out to me. He said our department is only as good as our community, and you know that hit home because we've had a lot of discussions about that. People see stuff they need to. I mean, they need to tell what they see. I mean, it's just that plain. I mean, you know, he says their hands are tied, and I know you concur with that, but
I do, 100%. And also just want to say in regards to this case that's been dismissed, and I'm not, you know, we're not in the business of victim shaming. I do not know what it's like to walk in those young men and women's shoes. But I do know that when we have victims that are not going to cooperate with us after we get these cases started, there's not going to be prosecution. And it empowers those that are out here creating this violence and doing these things. They feel they're untouchable. And it's just not a good situation.
does the system work pretty good if we do get them in here?
Yes, sir. There's been improvement. You know, there's been a lot of emphasis over the last 2 years with, you know, with this past year legislative cycle with the truth in sentencing, and I know there's pros and cons, and there's both sides to this. But when we are arresting the same individuals over and over, they go through the court system, the judge, the DA, they do their jobs. They get into the system, and instead of serving a 10-year sentence, they're getting out in 2 years or whatever for violent crime. That's the breakdown. And I hope that with this truth in sentencing legislation that passed this past year will help with that.
Okay, Chief, that's all I got. Thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody?
Any way you can go back to the governor and have him change the law on the gun law?
That ship has sailed. I don't know how else to put it. And, you know, and just let me say, you know, and most of the officers, we support constitutional carry. I mean, you know, it's your right as an American to have a gun. It's just, unfortunately, the individuals are not responsible gun owners that are causing the problem. It's not the good citizens out here that are causing the issue. Now, we have some that make a bad decision and leave their guns in their car and unlocked, and we have increased gun thefts and things of that nature. That's not a responsible gun owner. If you got a gun, don't leave it in your vehicle. But then you get into the issue, limited where you can take it. No, sir, that's why we're just focused on what can we do to prepare our community, and that's why it was so important to get these 3 officers trained up to teach this course and do what we can to help prepare our community to keep everybody safe. That's
I was in the store the other day, and a man was in there, and he was walked in, and he said, "I'm packing." And, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. We'll be quiet. Because if he's packing, he can pack you. So I just wonder, is there any way that, you know, that something can be done?
You can talk to your state elected officials about it, but I don't.
I will say, Mr. Baltimore, just point of information, when that legislation was being discussed, the Tennessee Association of Police Chiefs and also the Tennessee Sheriff Association. Both organizations across the state of Tennessee opposed that legislation, opposed it. Okay, because we felt like that this would be the outcome. And you see the crime stats are increasing, not only in Tennessee, but all over, for irresponsible gun owners. And that was a concern all along from the professionals that do this day in and day out.
I believe that.
And to add to that, the District Attorney General's Conference was opposed to it, as well as Department of Safety. So Chief Sheriff's Safety and prosecutors were opposed as written. There are some things in there that we were not opposed to, but there's several things in there that we were as written. And we were at the table to have these conversations and offered our professional opinions throughout that whole process. But yeah, thank you for clarifying that, Mayor.
Any other questions? So there's booklets here for each of the aldermen and the press as well. Like Chief said, this will be available on our website and the Police Department Facebook page. Complete transparency in all that we do. We appreciate your report. We appreciate the men and women of the Police Department, and we appreciate the job that you do. So thank you. Pass along our thanks to all those men and women. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Chief.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very good. Very good.
All right, next item on the agenda, report from Alderman, Mr. Baltimore.
Yeah, I think I have two things I'd like to ask you about. Is there any way possible that we can, if you're not on a committee and y'all having a committee meeting, that we could get a text to let us know, so if we want to come to the committee meeting, we could be able to show up to it?
Yes, sir, we can. Of course, now, when we send out the meeting invitations like I did yesterday afternoon, every alderman is included on that. You should have gotten an email. Did you get that email?
I don't look at my emails, I look at my phone.
You need to look at them. But we can do that too. So as you're saying that, we have a finance committee meeting tomorrow at 11 a.m. Okay?
And then the TML conference, I'd like to be able to go to it sometime.
Okay. Yeah, we'll let you know. Certainly will. Anything else? Edward?
I'm just gonna remind about the Finance Committee meeting in the morning.
In the morning, 11, where?
Upstairs, City Hall.
Right. Coach Cole?
Two. I had a member of Common Presbyterian Church, out on Osmond Road, questioned me about the ownership of the road. So the county had once owned it, and they took care of it, but now someone in the county told them that the city has taken over that property. So I just thought, throw it out there and see who owns it. Maybe they can get it paved a little bit.
Okay, so you're talking about Elmo Osmond Road,
Yes, sir.
over off St. John, that ends into Brother Galden's church?
Right.
Okay, I don't know, but I'll find out.
And on Farrell Street, on the east side of town, there is a propane company or natural gas company.
Yes, sir.
People have become concerned about the tank sitting there. Has it been used? Who's responsible for the upkeep of it? So I thought, just look into that for us, please.
Okay, I think it's still an active business. We were over there the other day. There was a tree that fell in the road. We were cutting it down right across the street from that. Well, we'll check it out. They're concerned about the stuff on the outside the fence?
Tanks are been sitting there for a while.
Okay, we'll look into it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Megan?
Would you be willing to just give an update on the soccer fields and where we're at in the grand scheme of things?
I will defer to Scott Ball.
We are closing out the contract, hopefully get that done this week with a contractor. We met with Lads. They do turf management and stuff like that last week to kind of get some advice on them on what's the best way to do our mowing and stuff like that. We're going to try to get them striped in 2 weeks. We've had our goals ordered for a while. They just keep getting pushed back and pushed back. But we're hoping in a couple weeks. So, we would like to get them striped and all the goals, everything out there by the end of the month, and get the people with NDR stuff out of Nashville, the grant people down here, and we finished the police precinct building, so It's a really nice facility. I hope it serves the chief and them well, but, we're kind of ready to go. And the turf management guy was very knowledgeable. You know, he said, you know, this is not gonna look like AstroTurf, it's grass, he said, but, you know, in a couple of years, he said, the more you use it, the more you cut it, the more he says it's just gonna keep getting better and better. He just gotta maintain it, so.
So as far as us taking over management and maintenance in the next couple weeks,
Yeah, I'm gonna say by the end of this week.
by the end of this week?
We're actually gonna start watering the fields Wednesday ourselves, so, the unirrigated fields.
Will the Parks Department be taking that over then?
Yes.
Okay.
We have purchased the self-crawling irrigation buggies to do the irrigate, on the two of the fields are irrigated, the rest of them are not. But I'll get with Andy, Tim Ware's gonna come out there and we're gonna set everything up and kinda go over the process, how it needs to work. It'll be ours.
That's all.
Okay, thank you. Ricky?
Mayor, the farm on Frank Maynard and Minzy that's been grandfathered into the county?
Not grandfathered, it is in the county.
It is in the county?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If somebody has a question about that, other than going to their county commissioner, who is the go-to person for somebody that's asking me about, you know, some blight over there, or, you know, who would they need to get in touch with? Can anybody help me with that?
Yeah, normally I'd say John Pleasant, who's the codes enforcement officer for the county, but I understand he's leaving that position to take a job somewhere else. So I would say the county mayor would be the contact, I would think.
That's the only question I had. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mary Claire?
I'd just like to thank the community for their patience during this transition with the curbside, and also thank Greg Wilson and his team, and that's all.
Thank you. Dennis?
No report.
Vanetta?
No report.
Let me mention just 2 or 3 things. I handed out the codes enforcement report for September. I won't go over those numbers, but you'll see those. We continue to clean up and do those things that this board wants done to clean our community up. So just want to mention that we had those. Also, flyer about the community cancer barbecue coming up on Friday, October 21st, 2022. Be on the north side of the square. First time in 2 years we've been able to gather again, so looking forward to that. That organization raises money for local cancer patients in Dyersburg and Dyer County and do a great job with that as well. Splash pad, we're going to close it October 15th, 14th, okay? We'll get information out about that. That was used very much this summer. If you've been down to the Forkadere River Park, you can see that the Fork on Lanham building that was there has now been demolished. The pad will be the next thing to be removed, and it will increase some parking for us down there, along with some more things we're doing. Of course, we got the grant also that we talked about to construct the pavilion with restrooms and a scenic overlook and some more improvements on the paved path of the trail on the other end, the trailhead down there. So continue to do that. Let me mention also last weekend was the Fall Festival that was kind of coordinated by the Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Association. Bree Roser for the Chamber of Commerce did an outstanding job. Lots of people there all day, all night, and I think everybody had a really big time. So I want to thank them publicly for all the work they did. Not only Bree, but the whole staff was there. So I want to thank them for what they did as well. Any other questions?
One more, Mayor, I forgot. Paving, Mr. Ball, do we have a date? Do we know any timeline on when we might start seeing some paving? It's all in Ford's hands, right?
His contract was signed, 3-4 weeks ago, I guess. City budgeted $475,000 for paving. And let me also just remind folks here and y'all that as far as paving, we spent $6.2 million over the past 5 years on local paving. So this board, sometimes we get accused of not paving and things like that, but obviously we know that we're doing all we can to take care of things. We budget $475,000 a year for paving. In the past 5 years, again, we spent $6.2 million to pave local roads in the city of Dyersburg. We'll continue to work on that. We got the machine to do the patching and stuff. That's been successful, I think. So we're continuing to do that. But we'll give John Ford a call and ask about that.
All right, thank you.
All right, anything else?
Do we have any extra money in the budget for some extra paving, or you not?
No, sir. Can we borrow some from you?
I'll let you have some if you give me some of yours.
We'll talk about that later. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.